So the boss had to call one of his employees. He was having a computer problem at work, and the employee was off that day. But he was having this problem, so he calls him at work, or calls him at home, dials the number, it rings, picks it up, and on the other end he hears a child's voice whisper, "Hello?" He's kind of surprised by the response, but he says, "Is your daddy home?" And the voice says, "Yes." Could I speak to him? The voice says, "No." Okay, and he's thinking, maybe he's busy, maybe he's out mowing the lawn or something. So he says, "Is your mommy home?" "Yes." "Can I speak to her?" "No." Well, somebody has to be there with this kid. This kid is too little to be by himself. So he says, "Is anybody there besides you?" And the kid says, "Yes, the policeman." "The policeman? Well, can I speak to the policeman?" "No, he's busy." "Busy doing what?" "Well, he's talking to Mommy and Daddy and the fireman." He says, "The fireman?" And just at that point through the phone, the boss hears this really loud noise. And he says, "What in the world was that?" And the kid says, "It was the helicopter." And he says, "Helicopter? What's going on there?" "Well, the search team just landed in the helicopter." "The search team? Why are they there? What are they searching for?" And the little kid says, "Me." We're in the 4th week of the 5 practices of fruitful congregations. Shared before that it was written by Bishop Robert Schnase of the United Methodist Church. The first week we looked at radical hospitality, the active desire to bring people to Jesus Christ and His church. The second week we looked at passionate worship, fresh encounters with God that transform lives. Last week, we looked at intentional faith development, learning together in community. And today we're going to look at risk-taking mission and service. Risk-taking mission and service. Now, I'm going to admit right up front, I'm a bit of a thrill seeker. I've been whitewater rafting in both Montana and West Virginia, both times with my older kid. In fact, the new river that we rafted in West Virginia is considered one of the most intense rafting experiences in the country. I've been parasailing, again with my older kid, in the Gulf of Mexico. 1,000 feet in the air, strapped to a little thin cable that's connected to a boat way down there, and the people look like little ants in the boat. I've done a zip line. You climb 40 feet up a tower, and you clamp yourself to a cable, and then you step off and hope you don't die. In fact, I have a tentative date to perform a wedding while skydiving. Sam said once he wants to get married while skydiving. And I said, if you can find a woman crazy enough to marry you under those circumstances, I'll get certified and I'll perform the wedding. We've agreed, though, that the bulk of the ceremony has to happen in the plane. And maybe just the I-do's while we're plummeting to the earth. So, risk-taking. Those types of risk-taking are not necessarily for everybody. I'll grant you that. Amen. But the risk-taking that we're looking at today is for everybody. Risk-taking mission and service. An outward focus that changes the world and invigorates the church. An outward focus that changes the world and invigorates the church. I want you to hear these words from the Gospel of Matthew. Again, it was like a man going on a journey who called his servants together and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents of money. To another he gave 2 talents, and to yet another 1 talent, each according to their ability. And then he went on the journey. And the man who received 5 talents went at once and put the money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with 2 talents gained 2 more. But the man who received 1 talent went off, dug a hole, and hid his master's money. Well, after a long time, the master returned and settled his accounts with them. The man who had received 5 talents brought another 5. Master, you have entrusted me with 5 talents, and see, I've gained 5 more. The master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." Well, the man with 2 talents also came. "Master, you've entrusted me with 2 talents. And see, I've gained 2 more." And his master also replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things, and I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share in your master's happiness." Then the man who had received 1 talent came. "Master, I knew that you're a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and I hid your talent in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you." His master replied, "You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest." Take the talent from him and give it to one who has 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more. He will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. And throw that worthless servant out into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's a familiar passage. Familiar passage about the master and the servants. And he's going to go, and before he goes, he entrusts each one of them with a certain amount of money. 5 talents, 2 talents, and 1 talent. Notice that the 5-talent guy, he could play it safe and hang on to it or bury it in the ground. He chooses to risk, and he invests it, puts it to work, and he doubles the master's money. Same with the 2-talent guy. He could also have played it safe, but he chose to risk, and he doubled the money. But the 3rd one, he's scared, and he plays it safe. And he buries it in the ground, and when the master comes back, he returns it to him safe and sound. "You gave me 1, I'm giving you 1 back." Now, it's easy to think that that guy did good, or at least that he did okay. He gave back what he got, so it's easy to think that he did okay. He gave back exactly what the master gave him. What's wrong with it? Well, to find the answer to that, let's look at what the other 2 did a little more closely. Because they, as I said, they could have easily followed suit and buried their money and just hung on to it and dug it back up when the master came back. But instead, they both chose to be involved in risk-taking missional behavior. They dared to step out in faith and put his money to work. And their reward was great. The resources were doubled. Twice as much ministry bang for the buck, if you will. But the other one played it safe and only gave back what he got. There is a difference, you see, between doing things that make us feel good and doing things because we exist to serve God and other people. And that's really the difference in this story. Now, I would argue that most churches are involved in some kind of mission and service. Most churches are involved in projects or efforts or work that people do to make a positive difference in the lives of others. Absolutely. But it's when you add that risk-taking feature. It suddenly refers to extraordinary opportunities for life-changing engagement with other people. It means moving into greater uncertainty. It means moving into a higher possibility of discomfort, more resistance, and more sacrifice. Risk-taking mission and service leads people into ministries that push them out of their comfort zone, that stretch them beyond their circle of relationships and practices that routinely define who they are. Risk-taking mission and service involves work that stretches us and causes us to do things for the good of others that we would not do under any other circumstance. Let me say that again. Risk-taking mission and service causes us to stretch ourselves and do things for other people that we would not do under other circumstances. As congregations move beyond their comfort zones, what they're doing is they're following Jesus into more risk-taking, adventurous encounters with others. God changes churches that do those things.